All right, just checking in. I've been reading and I finished the first part of The Dying Earth by Jack Vance. It's in four novels, so this has actually all four of them. They're all quite short. I did the first one, which actually is just a set of six short stories where you'll kind of go in with one character. Someone will generally be introduced, and then the next short story just continues with them. I know that it has inspired a lot of science fiction, especially in its format. I think of things like Hyperion or stuff like with Michael Moorcock or Gene Wolfe, and I've wanted to go to some of those other ones as well. And I wanted to go to one of the granddaddies, and my thoughts are that sometimes with science fiction, you got to be in the right headspace for it. If you're looking for a big kind of fun time, sometimes these science fiction novels are so kind of melancholic or ethereal or and weird that, like, thank goodness they're just short stories, because you know like I often really like those types of really short science fiction stories where it doesn't have a whole bunch of character work that we're getting into, but a lot of the time it's just about this situation and this eeriness. Sometimes it tackles science and magic. And since this is the dying Earth in the very far future, they're kind of waiting for the world to just kind of blink out of existence, or just, die and everyone on it. So it's kind of melancholic that way. But you can see how sometimes people will call, they'll have these priests and things, and really what they are espousing as like magic is kind of like formulas in science that has been forgotten. They'll get into like there's all sorts of different things that are interesting in that regard. And sometimes there'll be like religions based about these things. And I imagine if I were to go back in time and set people up with, Wi-Fi, or, I don't know. But there are tons of things that I could bring back even a couple hundred years and show them. And I'm sure people would think I was practicing some sort of black magic and whatever. The first tale kind of has this, it's often this seeking for knowledge in these different short stories. One person's like creating people in these like vats, and he can't just quite get the recipe right to make them exactly what he's trying to do. And that's one of the short stories, is kind of pursuing knowledge regarding that. There's another one where there's like a religion where if you dress red, like any red on you, and it just causes the people in the greens or the grays to just like have a fit, because it means, that you're worshiping, or you're under the demon or the god of red, or and the other way around, there's the greens and the grays, and they all separate. And I generally really like that sort of thing in sci-fi. uh and I'm glad that these were just individual short stories, which I like. And I don't even know what I would rate it, because it's just so out there, and I don't even know if I totally grasped everything that was going on. I think the second time through, at some point, or maybe when I keep going to the other three novels, which I don't know if they are short story format, maybe the second time through would be a little bit different. But I think it was worth doing, even though it was a little bit odd. And sometimes you feel like you're on some kind of psychedelics reading these things, and they certainly not are not for everyone, because of just, how odd they are. And sometimes the moral of the story, like, it's just so weird, and it's not like a big romance in it. It's all the characters are generally pretty bad. You're not like really rooting for everyone. You're just watching this strange sort of thing play out in front of you until the end of the short story. Then you go to this other really strange sort of thing. And there are a couple of them that I really, really liked, but you wouldn't, you know, it was more about the experience of jumping into somebody's imagination, in this terms, Jack Vance, which is often interesting enough in the situation and just this alternate reality of ideas that come out. So a lot of the best sci-fi really pursues, you know, there's a reason why it is connected with fantasy. And it's not because of the, you know, there are sci-fantasy, which is more like Star Wars or Sun Eater or whatever. But a lot of sci-fi has to do with just a small little situation that comes about. And it doesn't always have to explain how, you know, what if we could travel to the stars? And it doesn't necessarily always have to explain how, but it is kind of, the author is thinking, well, what if? And then goes to the logical conclusions of what that could look like. What if we went to Mars and there was a civilization already there? And then just going through what that could look like, even though, you know, sometimes a lot of these things are, you know, we kind of, when we don't understand maybe the technology of getting us to those different places or bringing people back to life in vats and things, but what would it look like if we could do that? So if you are ever into that sort of mood, which I sometimes am in between certainly fantasy series and stuff, where I just want to kind of get into the weird and speculative, I suppose, I think these are worth doing, and this one was an interesting one. Now, I'm definitely glad it's done so I can put it away for a while, and I'm going to get into some other things, bumping back Return of a Dan again just a little bit because I want to get into more humor because, you know, Guards was just so funny. And I think I'm going to get, right next, I'm going to do Dungeon Crawler Carl. I started the Tainted Cup yesterday, which I liked, and I think I'm going to keep finishing it before getting to Dungeon Crawler Carl. But these were at my local store here, and I picked up the first few, and I'm very, very, very excited to go into something a little more silly and whatnot. So anyway, talk to you guys later. Glad you stuck around. If you have, say hi and let me know what you're reading. And if you want to buddy read anything, either in sci-fi weirdness, like look at all these Ramas I have, just so you know. I don't know if anyone else, actually, let me know. Let me know if you have this issue like I do. There are certain books that I like to collect whenever I see an edition. One of those is Dracula. Whenever I see like a different, it's so hard. You can't keep up with all the editions of Dracula because there's just so many of them. But I have a few of those. I have a few of Frankenstein, and this is my other one. I have 4 of, you know, Rendezvous with Rama. This is the one I first read. I have another one of those. And this is going to be a movie soon, by the way. I hope they get it right. I hope they do it more like 2001 A Space Odyssey, which it's, you know, it needs to not get the Hollywood super, you know, I hope that they get the tone right. That's kind of what pushed me away from the 3 Body Problem Netflix series, mostly, is because, like, the tone just didn't feel right. Here's another one. This is my favorite one of that, and this is a classic cover there. I really love this book. It's one of the books that really got me into science fiction, and I'm obsessed with the genre. So anyway, are you going to join me, or or what are you reading? So talk to you guys soon. Bye.